The self under siege in modernity has always presumed that there was a self to be under siege. But in the view of Baudrillard, society has reached a point at which it has literally been overcome by its technology, as the new and important issues aren't about things like non-believer or the non-offender, but about the non-person. In the world of Baudrillard, social relations disappeared between humans because humans have begun to disappear. In fact, Baudrillard thinks that reality itself is in the process of disappearing. What Baudrillard is doing is basically to trace the symptoms and tendencies of the trajectory of postmodern. If we were really in a postmodern society, we would still be discussing things like the self, understanding, or the real. They would simply disappear. Then we would be, as a white transparently communicating one with another. As in an earlier example when I talked about the stock market crashing into computer rationality. Well, if we have really reached the postmodern in the fullest sense, the way Baudrillard used it, it would be the computers upcharging us and not the growth. The postmodern is a blurring of the lines between human beings and machines, a blurring of the lines between reality and image. It is a world, a grouping of the world. Reality is simply that which can be so whether you're talking about a human body where you can make a holograph of it, or you're talking about the Bible that you can see off, or whether you're talking about the sexual act which is being stimulated either through repetitive pornographic film, or in the very near future it will be able to be stimulated with virtual reality. Wear a full body suit and make love to your ego ideal, thus making appointments to search out all the Freudian implications. You can just pick your ego ideal, punch it into the laser program, slip into virtual reality suit, thus rendering that relationship, even that intimate relationship, sexual relationship, technological, simulatable, reproducible to infinity. Now, all this sounds wild and crazy, and I don't want it to sound wild and crazy. I want it to sound the way that I think it really should sound. And that is as though we could place ourselves in that era right before atomic energy and television, before we knew all the myriad changes that they would make in ways in which we blur and the way we interact with the world. But we're in a period now where I've already mentioned these are the phenomena that Baudrillard established with the most incredible information overload, with information moving at incredible speed. And even to the youngest children, I talked about how children used to learn morality from their parents, and now I think that Super Mario Brothers, they spend much more time with Super Mario Brothers and are much more emotionally involved with Nintendo than they are with their aunts, their uncles, their mothers, and their fathers. I asked one of my children, why are you yelling at a machine when he began to bang his Nintendo? And he looked at me as though I were a being from another world. I am from another world. Why not be emotional with machines? What he sees on the Nintendo screen is his thrill of the day. Baudrillard actually built his work on a foundation that it actually sounds, if some of this sounds like advertising slogans, good. Because in Baudrillard, the heritage of philosophy and social theory has passed over into advertising and television. So if it sounds superficial, good. What is there left to dream?